Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerd Age, where we discuss everything nerdy. My name is Mick, and with me as always are my co-hosts Josh.
What's up?
Corey.
What's up?
And Jonah.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, guys. On today, this episode, we're going to talk about Moon Knight episode 5.
Asylum, right? Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Arkham Asylum.
Okay.
Moon Knight Arkham Asylum, episode 5. Yeah, what did you guys think about it? Anybody?
We're gonna let Jonah go first.
I went first.
so he can take a crap on it again.
I went first last time.
We want to get the negative energy out first.
I went
Get it
first
out.
last time. Go ahead, Choop.
No, positive first. I like positive first. I really do.
Okay.
Save me for last.
We're gonna sandwich it then.
I prefer it that way.
So this is second to last episode, right? With season
Number
finale
5.
next week. I think where we left off was kind of an interesting place. I really like this episode. I think it's probably my favorite episode of the whole so far of the season. So,
Yeah, I think if you like this, you have to like, you know what I mean? If you like the series as a whole, you have to like this episode for sure.
yeah,
Because this is like a big point. Like,
Right.
It's very much changed up a lot, and this is a very big like aspect of the show.
yeah. I mean, for me, like exploring everything that's happened, doing the flashbacks in an interesting way, instead of just being like someone says like rain and then he like has a flashback to his like childhood or something
Yeah.
like that. Like it's an interesting way to introduce the flashbacks. So
I did like how they laid that out.
Yeah.
The different rooms and the different moments in his memories.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I liked how you kind of were able to see like, oh, that's this memory. Or then they kind of set up that one memory where he's like, oh, don't worry, we don't want to go there.
Yeah,
like,
don't go in
there.
there.
Yeah.
And so that whole dynamic of it, you know, and him kind of going from room to room or running up the stairs, like that constant staircase, basically endless going up to the bedroom. I think it was just done really well.
Yeah.
I thought it was really emotional. It got pretty dark. I thought. I think it's probably one of the only Marvel things where I've actually felt something.
Yeah.
Like most Marvel things, like things happen and I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's happening now. But just like
Right.
for me personally, like just his relationship with his mom for me was like, and what's happening to him, I was like, oh dang, that's it. It actually got me
Because you relate to it, because that's how our mother was.
exactly.
That's what I was going to say, but I thought it was too much. I thought it was actually crossing the line.
Yeah.
Jonah, you crossed the line.
Yeah, I felt felt kindred spirit, you know.
yeah, the shared
I
experience.
was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, this is my life. I'm not a superhero. I don't have anyone to take the pain away. It's just
Instead of the British
It's just
accent,
me.
you went for the Mexican accent.
exactly.
That's what,
yeah.
Si, senor.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, it was probably my favorite episode for the season. One of I think the emotional things that they did in this episode really kind of hit home for me. So
Yeah.
and the acting's amazing. Oscar Isaac, I mean,
Absolutely.
He's not going off the hippo, you know, that's a CGI character. He's going off of him and himself, basically. So he doesn't have another actor to play off aside from Ethan Hawke, who I think is awesome also. Like his other, like him as the doctor or the psychiatrist is like, I like how he plays that character. But yeah, I think it's just like amazing that Oscar Isaac is giving this performance. He really like drives it home for me.
It's actually not CGI. Actually, it was real costume.
It was real,
It was a real
practical
hippo.
effects.
No, it was
It
a real
is.
hippo. It was a real
There's a
hippo.
person that they actually dropped a picture of a girl in the hippo costume.
Nice.
Oh, and it's making all the facial expressions.
I'm
that the
saying
hippos
they
are
had
making?
someone there in the
Okay,
hippo
okay,
costume.
Okay.
Just like
So
don't
he's
give
giving-
don't give Oscar Isaac that much credit, okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
He's not Liam Neeson in Star Wars.
What do you think, Corey?
I'll go because I think mine's more of a it is a negative, but it's I think that I agree with you on the fact of like how they did the different rooms and the different memories and stuff like that. I really did like that. That's a good way of doing it. I've also kind of seen it before. I mean, most things you've seen it before, you know, but I think that the only reason why I didn't feel anything emotionally for him, like obviously I was like, oh man, that's rough. I get it. She blamed him for everything. Okay. Like, but I think the big reason why I don't like feel as much or anything is because I feel like they've just moved past everything. And I think that they moved too quickly. And, you know, these are only 5 episodes, you know? And so it makes sense why, I'm not as invested in the story, personally. You did feel something, and that's awesome. I wish I could feel something.
I wish your mom was as bad as ours.
Yeah, I know. It's because my mom didn't beat me. Yeah, that's probably what it was.
We're just joking. If mom hears this,
Yeah,
it's not
we're
true.
totally joking. Just to be clear, their mom is the
Happy Mother's
best
Day,
ever.
Mom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, coming up. That's right. They should have released that episode on
I
Mother's
know,
Day.
what the heck?
But it still doesn't get me past the fact that we're talking to a hippo. A hippo's related to everything, and it's just kind of this like it feels comical, even though it's not supposed to be comical. And then I think it was interesting how they did the whole afterlife, like just their take on the afterlife. It's like, so Disney, or is it Pixar? I can't remember who did it, but Soul. So Disney's Soul, I think they did the Field of Reeds and the exact same thing with the boat and the sand and everything. And I was like, okay, well, there you go. It's canon. Moon Knight could appear in Soul 2. Because it was the exact same situation. It was, the Egyptian Field of Reeds and the sand and everything. So I don't know. For me, it just felt weird. And the fact that like the whole other sarcophagus who probably had Jake in it or whoever, that was never opened. And then also the dynamic of like, hey, you're here in an insane asylum. How'd you get here? And he's like, okay. And this like weird back and forth of like, they like are trying to want you to believe that he's in an insane asylum, but then it's not. Like it felt very directionless in that aspect. Maybe for you guys are like, no, this is why it's so genius. But for me watching that, it was like, it felt like wasted effort trying to like fool the onlooker, trying to like convince them like, oh, you don't know what's real. It's just like in his head, you don't know what's reality and what's not. And I'm like, well, I know what's going on here. Like there's nothing that crazy about it. So I just didn't buy into it, and I didn't go for it, I guess, is kind of the main issue I had with the episode. But what else did I like? I mean, I think just the reveal of the mom and that relationship. I wish the Layla's dad thing was more emotional and better. It just felt weak because you only have one episode, so
they just
start throwing things in there like, yo, sew this open thing up, patch this hole real quick so we don't have any plot holes, and
I feel like they rushed through that because I can't remember what episode it was, but the bad guy is kind of like
3 or something like that,
throwing doubt into her, right?
Yeah.
And then he's hiding something from you, and then I think it's that same episode they have a conversation and he like explains it, and then it's kind of like, okay, we're moving on. And then it was kind of like, I was thinking, is there going to be a difference? Like, is there going to be like a different truth or something else? And then it ends up being like, oh no, that's what it was. It was kind of just,
I think one big thing is that they sow these seeds, and the seeds don't really blossom into anything like amazing or genius or like super emotional evoking for me. So that's why I think that this series as a whole for me is like 6.5 ish, just pretty standard. Because when I watch something like this, and when you bring in like family stuff, it should be evoking a lot of emotion, and it just wasn't for me. So, but it was an all right episode. I think with how it ended last time, like this is going in a better direction, I guess. Kind of like considering they threw the hippo god at us, then this is the direction we're going. It just kind of confuses me. I think that's the thing.
I mean, they could bring it home in the final episode, and you might love it. Like
Maybe.
They tie everything up and land it.
Maybe, yeah.
And you're like 9.8.
Yeah,
hey, never know.
That is true, and that's a big thing. Is I'll never close the book on it. Once I see the episode, then I'll make a final judgment. But I hope the next episode's super good, amazing, because I would love for it to go on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I landed more of the Josh camp. Like I think,
correct camp.
I think I think we've been pretty seeing eye to eye on this whole series so far. I think this was my favorite episode out of all of them so far. I do agree that with the like them still playing with the idea, like, well, maybe he still is insane, and this is all kind of fiction. What's happening to him?
I don't understand that. Why waste so much time on it?
Yeah, to me, I was like, I agree with you. I was like, I know what's happening, so I don't really know why they're still trying to basically fool the audience or mess with the audience. I think I said this last week that if they were going to do that, they should have not, revealed the Towet hippo goddess at that point and played with the audience a little bit more. But other than that, I really enjoyed this episode. I think Oscar Isaac carried it so much, and it was easy. Crazy how easy it was to forget that in a lot of those scenes, like I'm watching him, interacting with himself, but he's playing two different characters, but it just seems so natural and fluid the way that it was shot. I mean, that was a big part of it, the editing, but just his acting ability was just so good. And then, with everything with finding out how Steven was created, it's very, very sad and heartbreaking to know that's why he was created in the first place. But I did like how they went about that with the levels. It gave me kind of Inception vibes with the whole elevator memory thing that Cobb had in that movie. So I liked that. It's a good visualization of, these locked away memories or past traumas that you just want to get rid of or ignore completely. But I thought the episode was great. The afterlife stuff was pretty cool. The stuff with the what is it? I can't remember the
What part?
When they're when they go back to the cafeteria and you see all of the people that Mark had killed, like that was like a very creepy, just eerie scene.
Yeah, see, that's the big difference. Is it just didn't hit like that for me at all. It felt. I don't want to say CWE, but it did feel CWE.
More on that later.
How dare you? It's foreshadowing for what's to come later. I really did. I didn't feel that. Oh my gosh. Whoa. There was nothing of the sort. Call me heartless or just call me
to a Corey so heartless.
Just some guy who's got not high expectations, but
high standards.
High standards. Exactly. See, that's the big difference is you guys are buying in perfectly to everything that they're wanting to accomplish. That's why you guys are preferring this episode. You guys are loving it. And that's why I'm not liking it at all.
I'm just easier to please.
Yeah. I'm pretty easy to please. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it's just
you strive for excellence, Corey. I just,
mediocrity.
I'll take whatever. But overall, this episode, I think really was great.
So it's in the 8s for you guys or something like that?
Yeah, I would. I would definitely put it in the 8s.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and where it leaves with Steven supposedly gone, I doubt it. I'm sure he'll be back, but leaving him in that state, and then Mark being in the actual field of reeds, I guess true afterlife at that point. It'll be curious to see what happens, how he
just get sent back,
comes back to reality.
A giraffe god takes him there.
Giraffe god.
Maybe
is there
lion
an Egyptian giraffe god?
No, I think so.
But yeah, overall, I thought the episode was great, and
awesome.
I'm excited for more. I do have a question. Do you think we will get a season 2?
Probably not. For me, I don't think we will. But I mean, hey, you might as well. You might as well try it. I just don't. It's just I'm just not seeing a lot of people really liking that. You guys are the most positive people I know or see online about talking about Moon Knight. The people I follow and hang out see. They're like, it's all right.
Really?
Yeah, it's all 6s, 7s.
I think you're gonna get a season 2,
barely.
and this is the reason I think is because you've basically had in 6 episodes probably about 10 minutes of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Yo, for real. It's all just
and I think that's kind of one of the biggest complaints people have is they're there's not really action, Moon Knight action.
Yeah.
I think the longest scene that they had was the one where he's fighting the imaginary or the invisible beast in episode 2.
And 90%
that's
of that
the longest
fighting by himself. Yeah.
Right. After that, it's been just like Mark and Steven going back and forth. So I think that kind of means that they're going to basically establish at the end of this episode, in this last episode, that he's Moon Knight, he's back, and then season 2 would be more typical Moon Knight,
right? Because this
comic
has been a
book,
very
right? You know what I'm saying?
Mark and Steven
I think that's
heavy.
what.
Yeah, people would wonder, well, what was the point of this?
That's why it should have been called Moon Guy.
I mean, it's
He's
just
not the knight
it's
yet.
just basically
But it'd be like
a origin story.
It'd be
Right,
like
that's what
question
they're
mark
doing, yeah.
Moon Guy?
Yeah.
I guess.
I was thinking, do you think that we did see that third personality though?
Yeah, I think we did.
That's what people are saying.
Because
I don't know.
what is in one of the scenes you can tell his like voice is a little different.
It's more of like a Bronx,
and he even like his face, like he moves his face differently.
He goes,
Yeah.
hello, governor.
It's when he has he even has like I think he has like
He has like
broken nose.
yeah, he has a broken nose.
Yeah.
And you can tell like when he talks a little different. So I think you're already seeing like they're kind of giving clues of like whatever the Jake,
and he'll show
whatever.
up in the next episode. For me, the episode I think was probably the most enjoyable for me out of all of them. I still have, as Josh would say, nitpicks that I know are nitpicks, but to me, I thought what you guys all said, like Oscar Isaac, fantastic in this episode. I thought what Josh said was true. This is kind of more of those, they let you sit in kind of the darkness and they didn't kind of just throw in a joke, even though the hippo, every time the hippo was there was kind of like, a little jarring, but they actually let you sit with the feelings that, when the mom comes in and starts beating him and then, Mark and Steven, he's like pulling Steven back. He's like, you don't need to see this, kind of. I was expecting the typical Marvel thing to happen where it's like someone comes and does a joke or something, or you got Steven doing like
They could have
tripping or
easily
something.
gone the Fat Thor route,
Right.
and played it off, as
And
a
they
joke,
didn't.
and they didn't.
So I appreciate that. It does kind of bring in questions for me. I know this. I just need to accept.
What's Thor doing right now?
No. about the movie. But
Where's Superman?
Because I even talked to Anne. You've met Anne. She goes to church. But we've talked about this. She's like, for her, it doesn't make sense that if he had that disorder at such a young age, that he would go that long without knowing the other existed. Especially if like Steven went to college and all this stuff. Is like, how do you have time to have? Now it's basically 3 people having separate lives. Like, how can you go so long? So that it does bring them those like plot holes of like, this doesn't make sense. I know it's a show.
It's
You
not
just have
really-
to not think
it's-
about it because it's not supposed to be like something that's explained that way. But it does like, it's just interesting for me that my mind goes that way. And I have to remind myself to be like, you're not meant to go that way. You're just supposed to accept it.
Sorry, just real quick.
ahead, yeah.
The thing is that you think that it's like this fact. It's this irrefutable fact that it doesn't make sense. But in reality, it's a mental disorder.
Right.
Like he gets to choose what this character remembers, knows.
Yeah.
He controls these memories because it's his alter ego.
Because
Right?
like when Steven is brought into existence, he's not like, where the heck am I? I'm an 8-year-old kid. How did I get here? He's just like there, and it
but
makes
I'm not.
sense for him.
I'm not saying him in particular because I understand that aspect. I'm talking like other characters that interact with these characters, like the fact that Layla had no idea that Steven existed when Steve, like they were married,
but not that long.
But I'm just saying
years.
like that's kind of like, or people in Steven's life to be like, well, I just think like in that aspect, it seems kind of impossible. Again, like I said, you're not supposed to go that way. So when I start thinking of those things, I have to be like, that's not like part of it.
I think you can go that way. I took it as, and maybe I misunderstood the scene, but when Mark is standing outside of the funeral that they're having, and he breaks down, and that's when Steven comes back. In my mind, that's when Steven came back from like a long time where Steven wasn't around.
No, that's exactly what they said in the episode.
Yeah.
He said, and that's when I wanted you to live your own life.
Yeah.
And so that was the moment. So he then gave Steven fragments of memory. Hey, this is your mom. You remember your mom. but he still does that thing where he's calling on the phone and he's acting like he's talking to his mom who's alive, but he's not.
Yeah.
So obviously he's fabricated a backstory for Steven to live through and live from. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, it is not the strongest, but I don't know. I think when you have a mental disorder like that, I mean, it kind of there's a lot of leniency in kind of how it all works. But yeah. What else did you like in the episode?
Nothing else.
No, I already mentioned the acting. For me, that was kind of the biggest thing. The acting and kind of just that story of really tragic with the brother and the mom and that kind of stuff. I do feel like they've kind of set themselves up to tackle a lot in the last episode, and I don't know how they're going to pull it off, because I do think they've kind of, I thought at some point in this episode they were going to already get back, so now it's kind of like, okay, you've got 10 to 15 minutes to figure out how he's going to get back, because you've already seen now that people are coming down, so things are happening on Earth.
Right. So Arthur must have released
right.
that
so,
goddess you.
So to me, it that's the biggest thing that I'm like, how are they going to pull this off? Because I do feel like there's a lot of things they need to tie up. I don't think Steven is gone. I just think it was kind of like meant to be like oh man, Steven. But then it's like, he's going to come back.
If they reverse the effects of what Ahmet's doing,
right,
then Steven hypothetically would come back.
Yeah.
So, but I'm with you for sure.
So, I mean, like I said, I like this the most. The questions I'm left with are obviously ones that, like Josh said, would be nitpicks. The things about how does this whole work?
Where did Steven go to college? Where did he get his diploma? You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just saying
I need to know.
I'm just
how does he pay his bills?
I'm just saying there is that element of he's an established person that has all this stuff. Is no one else noticed this. The show makes it seem like out of nowhere, everyone starts noticing. The fact that Layla doesn't know any of this is, to me, is a little far-fetched. But like I said, that's neither here or there. But I do wonder how they're going to finish and wrap this up. And again, I'm left with the aspect of it feels like there wasn't a lot of Moon Knight. The action has been even the only action really pieces in this one was the dust sand dudes that Steven's kind of taken out. I thought I liked the scene where he becomes Moon Knight. I thought that was cool, kind of that conversation where they're watching that. Yeah. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting, and I saw someone mention this, is they're for them it felt really similar to the episode of WandaVision where Agnes, they go back in time and she sees herself as a kid and all that. Mm-hmm. So they were they felt that was similar. So I didn't know if that was the case. What you guys thought, if that was if it reminded you guys of that.
At the time of watching it, I didn't really think about it, but they're thinking about it now. There were definitely a lot of similarities. I don't think that's a bad thing. Yeah. Probably mainly because I liked that episode of WandaVision. I thought that was done really well. Same with this episode. So for me, it worked, and it was good.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, probably for me, it's the best episode, and I'm curious to see how they end it, how they end Moon Guy to become Moon Knight season 2.
Man.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because I mean they're kind of implying that hey, you can live with multiple personalities, but hey, don't hide stuff from each other. And it's it's weird because it's this weird acceptance of a mental issue. But this is the character, right? This is the character of Moon Knight. And it's I just feel bad because it's man, there's 3 different personalities minimum in this body. And it's so it's not going to resolve and they'll chill easy and they'll all just become Mark Spector all of a sudden. No, but that's what Moon Knight is, right? He lives with these multiple personalities for the rest of his life. I just feel that's it's interesting. I'm just oh, okay.
It's going to end with all 3 of them eating shawarma. Avengers.
Yeah, in the field.
Yeah, they're all going to just be eating, oh, that was interesting.
Yeah. Just chewing on some wheat in the wheat field.
So Josh, what do you need? Obviously, you already think this is the best series, right? Of the Marvel.
Yeah,
that's
out of
released.
the Marvel ones, I think easy.
What are you looking forward to in seeing it? What do you need to see in the season finale? Like, do you want more action heavy? Do you just want, like, what is it that you're excited for seeing?
I want to just, I mean, I kind of go back and forth on the action part because, like, I'm not the kind of person that's just like, whoa, where's the fighting at? You know what I mean? I like what they've done with the story so far. Like,
if it's compelling,
that's for me. Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about it turning into your standard, like, he's going to turn into Moon Knight and he's going to have a fist fight with the bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, that happens in every Marvel superhero movie, right? It's like,
how about a dance off?
Exactly. There we go.
Dance off,
subverting expectations. But I think I'd like to see I think a little more action, a little more Moon Knight would work. But yeah, I think I'm just, it would take a lot for me to be like, man, the season finale sucked. You know what I mean? It would really have to fall off the cliff for me personally. I just want to see how they resolve, basically the conflict between him and Arthur. Yeah, Arthur, is that his name?
Yes.
Because I know we've seen
Arthur Harrow.
We've seen a lot of his issues with I forget the god's name now.
Amet?
No, the
Khonshu.
Yeah, where he's like, you've kind of driven me to this. So I kind of want to see how that kind of resolves itself in the end and how we get Khonshu back. Yeah. I think that's the most important thing. Like, I want to see how basically they're going to break
that
Khonshu
other
out.
goddess will
help
probably release Khonshu.
Yeah,
I'd imagine. I don't remember her what god she was.
The music god.
Yeah,
I think that there's a lot of things that need to be sewed up, a lot of loose ends. So that's the only thing I'm concerned about. I don't know if it's an extra long episode or something, but
I thought I saw that they were
like
saying that it's going to be longer than your standard episode.
Good.
Someone posted the season finale for Moon Knight is 48 minutes, and people were like, "No, what?" Like freaking out, and they're like, "I'm just joking."
Oh,
like people were like sharing it around, being like, If this is true, we riot." You know, I'm like, "Oh, jeez."
Well, I think this series, all the episodes have been the longest out of all the other shows we've got, right?
They've on in 50.
They've been around
58, 54, 56,
least, yeah.
Yeah, and yet they still feel rushed because of how much they're trying to fit in them. For me, you know, I think that they're fitting so much in each episode that it just feels like they're just flying over points. And so hopefully in this episode, the next episode, hopefully it's over an hour or hour 15, hour 30. That'd be great.
So for you, what are the things that you think are like left unresolved for you?
Okay, so like, what are the loose ends that they need to do?
Like, where does Steven go to college?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where's his diploma?
Yeah.
So they need to resolve getting Khonshu back. So that means first things first, he's got to be resurrected somehow. And what the Hippo goddess said is, I can put your soul back, but your body's dead. So that's an issue. So some other god has to intervene and like revive him or something. Khonshu obviously has the power of immortality. He can bestow that upon, or like reviving, stuff like that. But guess what? He's banished. So there's something has to happen there. So either another god has to step in, or I'm not sure. So that's one resolution. Okay, now that we have the body resurrected, okay, you still don't have powers because Khonshu is still banished. Okay, so we got to get Khonshu back. Okay, we get Khonshu back. Then we got to resolve defeating Amet and banishing her and defeating Arthur Harrow. That's a lot of things in one episode. It's a lot. And all the while, you have to then resolve the issue between him and Layla. And you have to resolve, you probably don't have to resolve this, but you have to give a teaser or something, because I think Jake is going to be that guy who kind of like sets him back. You know what I mean? Because if Mark and Steven, they get each other and they're jiving, you know? Yeah.
You have to introduce a love triangle, obviously.
They have to have some kind of issue. But that was weird. No, let's not talk about it. But the fact that they kissed Layla and Steven, I was like, ew.
Same guy.
That's messed up, man.
Same dude.
That's weird.
But then he punches himself, so it's fine.
I know it's fine. But that's a lot. That's what I'm saying. That's a lot of things that they have to address in an hour or more, hopefully more. But that's the only thing I'm worried about. Not worried about.
And one of the things
concerned about.
One of the things that I would add that I feel has been rushed over and not developed enough that I'm kind of bummed about is the stuff with Haro, because I feel like he used to be Moon Knight, right? He used to be the Avatar, and they haven't addressed anything as to that backstory, why, like what happened with them. It's just been like him kind of saying like, oh, he used to do this, and and like, but that's something that I kind of wanted to see, like what was the reasons, and I feel like that might be something that they throw in this final episode, like if there's a conflict between them, maybe it starts with a flashback to that, like you see Moon Knight going and then you realize it's him. Yeah. So that might be something they do, but that's one thing that in the past episodes I've wanted more of, to kind of give me that more backstory of why he's doing what he's doing. And I feel like it's just been kind of like talked about, but not really addressed. Yeah, and so that's what I would wish that there was a little more of that for me.
Yeah. But, that's fair. But that doesn't equal a great series for me. I think that's what they've kind of just written themselves into. You know what I mean? Like these are the plot points that they have to address. And so, I think it's going to be challenging. But yeah, was that what you're asking?
Yeah, I was just curious. Okay. Yeah, because you had said that there was like, they were missing like things to wrap up in the
not plot
throughout
holes.
their show kind of a thing. So I was just curious what kind of things you felt were not addressed. So.
Yeah, I'm actually not super judgmental on plot holes or whatever people think those are, but because it's a story, right? It's a story, and they're going to tell it the way they want to. But blatant ones obviously bug me, but little tiny ones like, well, where did he go to college? I don't really care about that.
That's right.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying,
we've taken your comment and we've distilled it perfectly into what you meant.
Where does he go?
What I'm saying is, it doesn't make it. It makes sense for him. To me, it doesn't make sense for people around him to be shocked that he has this multiple personality thing. Everyone that meets him is like they're shocked that there's multiple personalities. So I'm like,
it doesn't. They only see one.
Yeah, but people would have. You can't live 3 different lives. And people believe that that's your whole life. Like to be married to somebody, like if I was married to Melissa, which I am,
Mark,
which is thank God I am.
The thing is Mark, Jonah, Mark is the actual guy. So if anyone's going to be married, it's going to be Mark. Yeah. He lived the whole time.
Right. But what I'm saying,
controlled it.
What I'm saying is, while he's married.
Yeah, for 2 years.
Okay. Steven's not married though. And Steven doesn't have hardly any relationships with people outside his.
Okay. But
he talks to his mom and that's it.
Okay, but Steven, I'm going back to college, guys. I'm going back to college.
Oh, do you think that he's been working at this museum for like 10 years? Because that's
what I'm saying is
he's been working there probably for like a year.
But obviously he has an education, right? He had to go to school somewhere.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
No.
Because he's like a bigwig dude.
Well, the thing is that
he works in a gift shop.
When Steven is
knows a lot. He's a smart guy. He knows everything.
He reads books.
When Steven's presented with problems like what happened in my past, he often kind of like, kind of avoids it because he's been given so much. The memories that he's been given were handpicked by Mark that Mark experienced.
Yeah.
Right? So, he feels like he's lived a whole life, and that's the whole idea of it. But he, in reality, hasn't. Mark's the one who's lived the life.
So he didn't go to college.
Yeah, Mark
didn't go to the frat.
Mark did.
Well, I'm just saying, I feel like more people would realize that he's got multiple personalities if you're doing all multiple stuff. Like, especially Layla. I think you would realize that.
I think
the shock of it, like, the multiple personalities is kind of like...
The only way Layla would have known about it is if Mark had a situation where he needed to get out of. Like his mom walks in the door with a belt. Then you'd have to be like, I'm out of here. That's the only time Layla...
3000.
But does that make sense? Because
I know.
Why would he need a swap when he's having a great time with his wife? And
that's what I thought is all the time that they were married, Steven never came out.
Right.
Like it was just Mark.
But how did he keep a job at the museum?
I don't think he worked there yet.
He started working just like maybe last year.
I think it was after. Okay, so how long were they? He had that breakdown
how long were they married?
The few.
I don't know. A couple of years.
Where did they get married?
No.
Who was their rabbi?
Okay, do they explain this in the show?
It's 5 episodes.
What I've seen from the show, I'm thinking that he was married to Layla, right? And then at that time, Steven was around to working at this other job because he goes things where he's like at this job and then he's gone for days and then this whole thing. So how the series starts is assuming that like Steven is the main guy, right? That's how the series starts. And then you find out that Mark's another guy. But then you realize that Mark's the main character and Steven's... But they never explain how long he's worked at the museum or anything like that.
Yeah.
So you guys are just pulling that out of like what your mind tells you, right? It's not something that's been said. That's
I'm basing it off of lines that they've said, and I make assumptions based on
educated guesses.
Okay, so
educated.
So based on the show, how long has he been married with Layla?
Based on the show,
Yeah,
he doesn't say. He doesn't say the number of years that he's been married.
Okay,
but we can make an assumption.
He's been separated from her. Do you guys know how long he's been separated from her?
So we know that they went discovering stuff together.
Right.
So they went on adventures together, and then they got married, or they were married for them.
And they haven't been talking for like 3 months or something like that. She says a couple months, right?
Okay, so
something like
3 months is when he's been working at the museum, is what you guys are saying.
That's what I thought,
Because they never address how long he's been working at this museum. To be honest, the way they treat him is like he's a new hire.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're like, you can't even like audition for the tour guide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. I think you're making an assumption that he's been working for, like, there's a lot more crossover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I get that. Yeah.
In my mind, that's what I think. I'm like, okay,
that's just
this wouldn't, like, how would this work? Especially since he's had the Steven personality since he was a little kid.
Yeah.
So that makes it be like the amount of time.
Only in emergencies.
Right. Okay.
As we've seen.
But like I'm saying, that's kind of like, in my mind, that it makes me start to think like, how does this fit and work together?
For sure.
And then when his mom died, that's when he says that's when it started. Their life started crossing over more.
Yeah.
That's what he says.
So yeah, it is interesting. And I think, it can be confusing. I think that's also kind of like a thing that they're almost on purpose going for, is like that confusion factor is like who is who and what is what.
Yeah, it's almost like an unreliable narrator.
Yeah. So
I'm maybe really pissed when they show his apartment and he has a diploma on the wall. And I'm like, he did go to college, you idiots.
They just trade it off each day.
I told you. I'm actually going to
use that same woman who faked the passport. They just faked.
I'm actually going to go back and rewatch.
Oh,
and
gosh.
Be like
Scene by
scanning
scene.
to
Where
be like,
is it?
Is there a diploma on the wall?
I've heard a theory that that when Steven or Mark was actually like being beaten by his mom, that's when that third personality takes over. Because if you think about it, how would, unless it's just you can explain it away by memory and different personalities or plot hole. But how would
it's like how you black out.
How would Steven not remember how his mom actually was?
It's called suppressing memories.
Because that was like a big shock for him. So I've heard people say once he's actually being treated poorly, that's when that third takes over.
Because the interesting thing was when she comes in, he turns into Steven, right? And that's when she technically beats him, is when he's Steven. So to me, that's what I was a little confused about.
Yeah.
Because he was like, you're not supposed to see this, but I was like, but you just turned into Steven and your mom's beating you while you're Steven. So wouldn't he remember that? I thought it should have been the opposite, where he's like, after he gets beat, he should have turned into Steven.
I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Because that's not the same logic. You have to use the same logic for everything. That does not. So if we were under the assumption that he could control what Steven remembers, then why do you even care what he sees? Because couldn't you just be like, hey, just don't remember that? Well, no. He's actively trying to keep him from seeing it.
I guess he does. He does control what he remembers. Otherwise, Steven would be like totally confused.
Then why does he care about Steven seeing it in that moment? After all this, couldn't he just be like, all right, Steven, you don't remember that anymore?
I think you can explain it away by they're
losing control.
They're dead at that point, and they're just going through.
I guess, but
equal out their souls or hearts or whatever.
Or maybe
it's not a big deal.
Or maybe that personality wasn't Steven. Maybe that's the third personality.
Right. I mean, it could be.
But then why change into Steven when you're about to get beat? Like,
so sense. He created Steven, and then Steven created this third personality.
It's an infinite amount of personalities.
Steven created Dewey, and Dewey's the one that gets beat. Poor Dewey.
Shut up, Dewey.
Malcolm in the middle.
Cool. Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to the last episode. Curious to see how it'll play out, and I'm curious to see how long it'll be. I would say at least over an hour to like
really wrap things
be satisfying and wrap up properly. So Anything
It's
else?
going to be an hour and 5 with a 10-minute intro and like previously
15-minute
on
credits. Do you think we'll get an end credit scene?
I don't know.
Probably. Have the other shows done
I
stuff?
think they have, yeah. For the last episode.
Yeah. Well, probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, they do that.
And that'll sell the whole series. It'll be all about
Watch the series.
like the season finale sucked, but stay for the end credits.
I hope Morbius shows up.
No, it's the Vulture comes down. He's like, I'm putting together a team. I think it has to do something with Spider-Man.
I thought I saw him around here, but never mind.
Maybe not.
He's
Like-
not here. I think he got it out.
Yeah, Moon Knight's like, intriguing. I'm in.
Cool. Well, yeah, that was our talk on episode 5 of Moon Knight. Let us know what you thought about the episode, and leave a comment below. Like the video, share it, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.